Welcome to Jack Saw video 2. I haven't looked at this table saw since the last video because it's been cold outside. So let's talk about what I did. So needed to clean out sort of the bottom of this blade area from the last video. It was like a 2x4 stuck in there essentially. There's a hole that is the channel to pull the dust out through the filtration system. I'm assuming from years on a job site, this was never hooked up to any sort of like vacuum or dust collection system. So hopefully I can do that a little more often to keep this guy clean so I don't get that issue in the bottom. And now you can see there's some shiny stuff down on the bottom, which is good. There was a ton of construction adhesive here on this part of the table. So I initially went at it with a chisel, which was not smart because I took a little chunk out of it, but it's just aluminum. It's really soft. So I cleaned up as much as I could, sort of the big particles. And then what I've been doing is taking a piece of wood and just wrap some 100 grit sandpaper around it. And I'm just kind of leveling it off. See, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to make sure that nothing gets caught on there when I'm moving some lumber, or if I have the fence on it, I don't want the fence to get caught up on that. It's pretty nasty stuff, the construction adhesive. You definitely don't want to breathe this in too much. There's like a phone number written right there. There's some other type of adhesive stuck on there. That's where the original top, which maybe waxed a little bit, is going through the aluminum. I'm not too worried about it. I just want to make sure there's no, even though it looks nasty, it's pretty flat. And like I said, I just want to make sure when I slide a piece of lumber across, it doesn't get caught up on anything, and that the fence can move smoothly over this construction adhesive from before. The kickback pawl, that goes over here and basically catches the wood so it doesn't kick back in my face. You can see how nasty and corroded and rusted that is. So with all these types of parts, I'm just going to throw them in a bucket, some vinegar, and it will take the rust right off if I leave it in there for a few hours. The fence itself is pretty beat up. On this edge, it's all bent. So I straightened it out a little bit with some pliers. It was all bent over here. But really, I just want to get it so it fits into this hole right here, where you keep it. And there's no other real reason, as long as it's straight on the side so it doesn't mess up what you're cutting. It should be good. Blades! Yeah, so there's a finished blade, fine finish, general purpose. We're putting on the general purpose. All right, general purpose blade. Finally. Warning instructions. So when you install the blade, the cutting part always goes towards you at the front of the saw, so the danger's always facing you. Flip up your lock, grab your blade, put it in, cutting edge towards you, and then just kind of fit it onto the fang there. Ooh, it's a tight fit. Should be a tight fit. That's super loose once it gets there. But she's pretty. So when I took them off, I put them in a vise and then just wire brushed them down so they're nice and shiny. And so I want to make sure that this isn't a huge pain. Let's get back on there again. If we're off, I need to change the blade. So we're going to hand tighten that a little bit, and then I'm going to grab a wrench, big wrench. That's the guy. So I'm actually going to do this by hand. So I'm going to put the wrench in, and I'm going to pull the blade this way with my hand. Cutting edge is going to be away from the way I'm pulling. So right now it's just a little more than hand tight, because I want to make sure that A, I can get that nut off again, and B, because I want to change the blade again. So A and B are the same things. Put this on, make sure you put your lock back in place. Put the sucker on there. Yikes. That's pretty much it. Last thing I want to do is just slap the fence on here real quick and make sure that is straight. So I reattach the fence, and like I mentioned before, this piece is broken, but when I lock it down, it should tighten it right up. And then you can make some minor adjustments if you want to right here. Let's see if it's straight. That guy on there. The speed square. Sorry, there was a spider on that one. Alright, so basically, you use this a couple different ways, but if you want to make sure it's square, make sure your fence is square, make sure your fence is on there. This is all squared here. The speed square on this side, put it up against the thing, and make sure there's no gap. There's a slight gap. It's like less than a 30-second gap. I can live with that. And that, my friends, is the table saw. So there's a few things I will want to do to this eventually. Just like replace this tape measure that's all rusted out. Because it's a job site saw, it's on a rolling stand and it doesn't make it too steady. So I'd probably want to lock it down on like an actual table or some legs. It would wobble a bit, and I don't want my saw wobbling while I'm cutting lumber. The original safety switch is removed and replaced with some really disgusting wiring. This is the pseudo safety switch, complete with exposed wiring and nuts. It is relatively safe in its current condition, but I don't know that that's a long-term solution for this switch. And the other thing is, because it's on that job site stand, it has the part where the handle would have been is bent and removed and replaced with sharp, rusted edges. I don't know what my last tetanus shot was, but this and that. But it's very sharp, very rusty split metal. So I'll probably cut this off and round it off. Maybe just slap a tennis ball or something on here so I don't, cut my leg open. Other than that, saw's ready to go. Everything else works. And that's all she wrote for this jack saw.